Holmes on the outside. And now we're coming up on 44, John D'Elia's boat, Special Edition. Special Edition is in a tight points numbers race in the open class with Canada Holmes, you just saw, and Bob Kaiser's Chevrolet Marine Power US1. All those three boats are in the lead for the championship overall in the open class. So today's race is obviously important for all three of them. But right now, this 35-foot Jaguar, well, here we're on M3, Dirty Laundry. Dirty Laundry looking very good as he's trying to chase down John D'Elia. We're back up on Special Edition. This 35-foot blue and white Jaguar is powered by twin 750 horsepower Mercruiser inboards with Mercruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by John D'Elia Sr. from Coscob, Connecticut, and John D'Elia Jr. is doing the throttling, also from Coscob. The D'Elias in Special Edition race team. As you can see in the stern of that boat, right there, you see it in your picture, the tie bar is flopping away in the breeze. It is banging on the outdrive right there of that boat. I do not know if D'Elia is aware of this. We hope it is not a problem. But there you see Special Edition on the outside as he overtakes Canada Holmes on the inside. These two are in class and they will be dueling all day. Right here you come up on M25, Jim Lasnowski's Superboat Cat, known as Extractor. This 32-foot Superboat Cat is powered by twin 600 horsepower Zool motors. He's got James Lasnowski as the owner throttle man, Al Schiavelli as your driver, and Tommy Rizzo as your navigator. But however, Special Edition going by on the outside and Extractor hanging tough with him. Now we come up on 99, the Gentry Eagle. This 46-foot white Scarab is powered by three 850 horsepower Gentry inboards with Kiekheffer outdrives. This boat is owned by Tom Gentry. Today driving is Don Johnson from Miami Beach. You've got Gus Anastasi as your navigator and Bill Sirois as your throttle man. Don Johnson really coming out here has lent some glamour to offshore powerboat racing here today in Atlantic City. From Miami Vice, he's come out here to race, and he's going to give it all he's got in the Gentry Eagle. But right here, we're back to Lasnowski's Extractor. And on board for Jim Lasnowski is Al Schiavelli, your driver. That's Al Schiavelli from Marine Wise, a dealer for Warlock, Scorpion, Talon, Seahawk, and Maersk Cruiser products. Marine Wise Limited, Al Schiavelli's place in the New York area. But Gentry Eagle is holding off the challenge being mounted by Extractor right there. Don Johnson's got his confidence really built up for this race. He's done some driving on the offshore circuit before, but now he's come out with a real top professional boat. Tom Gentry's Gentry Eagle is all business. It is a big, powerful 46-foot Scarab with some of the most powerful engines in the business today, those Gentry inboards. So you've got the crew of Johnson, Anastasi, and Sirois in the Gentry Eagle holding off the challenge of Lasnowski's Extractor. And here comes Canada Holmes, a boat you saw dueling earlier on with John D'Elia in the Special Edition race boat, 66, Canada Holmes. This all-yellow 38-foot Apache is powered by twin 750 horsepower Lightning inboard with Mercruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by Lauren Lee Bell, and he's got Bob Idoni as the throttle man today. That's Lauren Lee Bell from Ontario, Canada, and Bob Iondi as his throttle man today, Canada Holmes. And right here we're coming up on Dirty Laundry. The racing is extremely intense. The modified class is just phenomenal. You saw some of the tightest racing right there with Lorraine LeBells from Toronto, Canada's Canada Holmes right there, Special Edition D'Elia's, Chevrolet Marine Power earlier on, all competing in the exciting open class. M3 Dirty Laundry. This 32-foot all-white skater is powered by twin 540 horsepower inboard KSW motors with Mercruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by Joseph Mack from St. Louis, Missouri, and he's got Harold Stepp as his throttle man today. Dirty Laundry virtually has the modified class wrapped up. Even if they do not finish today, they will win and hold off Chariots of Fire, basically due to the insurmountable lead that they've been able to compile for the 88 campaign. So Dirty Laundry is really looking good. Even if he doesn't finish, as we said, he will be your champion in modified class. So Joe Mack, we tip our hats to you and congratulate you for a very fine season for the 88 campaign in the National APBA circuit. Joe Mack's Dirty Laundry from St. Louis, Missouri. As you can hear, Harold Stepp is doing an excellent job throttling the Dirty Laundry race boat. They've been together all year and they've done a fine job performing, and Harold Stepp is really coming through here in championship fashion. Right now we come up on another 3 boats. You've got Joe and Precious East Coast Marine on the inside, doing a fine job right there. As we go by Impression's East Coast Marine, we come up to PTM Express on the inside and Coors Light Silver Bullet on the far outside. So that's a Coors Light Silver Bullet running neck and neck with PTM Express. PTM Express is a 47-foot Apache powered by 3 CNG racing inboard motors. A lot of power right there for Phil Mashinsky's boat. And the Coors Silver Light Bullet hanging tough also with PTM Express. Now we come up on 2 boats we've seen earlier on. On the inside it's John D'Elia Special Edition. And on the outside you've got Gentry's boat being driven today by Don Johnson. Special D'Elia Special Edition on the inside and Gentry on the outside, running head-to-head competition off the coast of Atlantic City. Boat 99, that is a big, large boat, and with all the power that those Gentry motors put out, it's certainly going to need every bit of it today to be competitive in class. Gentry looking very strong in the super boat category. Now we come back to Phil Mashinsky's PTM Express. Phil's doing the driving today, and on throttles he's got Randy Garcia and Ralph Martin as his navigator from Florida. Phil is from the New Jersey area, so he is basically in the hometown state, and he wants to put on a good show here today in Atlantic City. The PTM Express having a good run so far. PTM Express has had an excellent campaign. He's presently just 200 to 300 points behind Al Copeland's Popeyes Diet Coke in the super boat competition. So Mashinsky would certainly like a strong running here today in an attempt to overtake Popeyes Diet Coke. Mashinsky's PTM Express. PTM Express going by a smaller seaboat known as Hats. PTM Express looking very dominating at this point in the race. An excellent job of throttling right here, and they're looking very strong. Now we come back up on Chevrolet Marine Power. Once again, the 38-foot Cougar owned by Bob Kaiser and being throttled by Errol Lanier from Detroit, Michigan. And then back to John Johnson's Gentry. That's Kaiser Chevrolet Marine Power, US 1. What a mean-looking machine that is. That is all race boat right there, ladies and gentlemen. A true statement to where this sport has been headed and where it's going to go. Speeds in excess of 90 miles per hour right here, and this boat is dialed in as a true professional. Lanier and Kaiser have this boat right where they want it, and they are certainly running very strong. They are definitely going to be in the hunt for things. They definitely want to overtake as many boats as they can because it's just too close to call between Special Edition and Canada Homes Challenge. And right in front of him you see the Gentry boat. So you can imagine how fast both these boats are going. Gentry being able to hold off Chevrolet Power right here, but Kaiser charging hard, trying to overtake Gentry. speed at its best right now. This boat is going full tilt, all out, approaching 100 miles per hour. And here you see him making his move on Gentry. Chevrolet is smoking right here. They're closing the gap. They are overtaking right now. And Gentry, who is also going exceptionally fast right now, is rescinding back. They're falling back, and they cannot hold off the challenge of Bob Kaiser's US1 Chevrolet Power. What a great pass that is. Kaiser over Johnson, Chevrolet over Gentry. Super racing right there. And now he starts to extend his lead over the Gentry boat. Kaiser's got this boat really moving around the race course. He's tearing it up right now. Just listen to this Chevrolet boat go. And there you see how far he is extending his lead over the Gentry boat. Right here we've got head-to-head racing. That's Joey and Precious, East Coast Marine on the outside, and Harris Chariots of Fire on the inside. Two M boats going all out right here. On the inside you've got M20, Harriet's Chariots of Fire. The all-red 32-foot Turner Cat is powered by twin 550 KS&W inboards with Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and throttled by John Emmons from Bayville, New Jersey, and he's got Richard Smith as his driver today. Here we're on M5 East Coast Marine. This 32-foot Superboat Cat is powered by twin 600 Lightning Performance inboards with Merc Cruiser drives. This boat is owned and throttled by Joey and Pressure from East Coast Marine, and driving is Ed Collier from Skater Race Team. So you've got Collier and Impression going all out against John Emmons and Richard Smith of Harris Chariots of Fire. Dirty Laundry all but has the modified class wrapped up, but with a strong finish here today, Harris Chariots of Fire can hold off Cat M7's Al Cropp's boat, who is challenging very hard in third place right now. So Harris needs a very good run, and here you just see some head-to-head, even-up racing. Joey and Precious, East Coast Marine on the outside, and John Paul Emmons, Harris Chariots of Fire on the inside. Excellent racing right here with East Coast Marine and Harris Chariots of Fire. Cat Race Team, M7. This 33-foot red and yellow image is powered by twin 500 horsepower Merc Cruiser inboards with Merc Cruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and throttled by Al Kropp from Chicago, Illinois, and driving today is John Dumel. Cat Race Team having a very good race. He's going to be challenging Harris Chariots of Fire all day to see who's going to wind up with a second place finish nationally in the modified class. There you get a good look at that Cat racing boat with his new race canopy. That is some piece of marine engineering right there, and it's a fine, high technical looking bit of workmanship right there. They seem to be very safe, and there is an opening on it so they can get out if need be, at the same time breaking the water if they do stuff the boat. Very excellent design on that race canopy for M7, the Cat race team. Al Crops had a good year. He really wants to capitalize here today and have a strong showing to try to take second place. He's looking very good right now in his class. M7 Cat race team, Al Crops boat. Right there you see crop coming up on some of the spectator fleet. You get some idea of just some of the many thousands of boats who are out here today around the Atlantic just viewing this excellent offshore powerboat race. This is certainly by far the biggest race to date that we've had put on here in the United States. Al Crops, Cat race team, as he goes by part of the spectator fleet. Now we're coming up on a very exciting P-class battle. On the outside, you've got Chin Chin. In the middle of your picture, you've got Miss Don Q. Not quite sure, but on the far outside, coming into your picture, that could be Raz. So you've got Miss Don Q and Chin Chin really going all out right here. Right here, that's Miss Don Q, P88. It is a 32-foot Douglas skater, red and white, powered by 265 horsepower Mercury outboards. This boat is owned by Felix Sorales, who also does the throttling, and you've got Juan O. Sorales from Mercadita, Puerto Rico, coming out here today. Definitely an international flavor out here. Miss Don Q, Sorales, and all the Soraleses, Felix and Juan Sorales, making up the Miss Don Q race team. Miss Don Q needs a very good run today. They're running neck and neck with your Currys of the High Roller race team for first place nationally. Now in your picture, it's Chin Chin on the inside, Raz on the outside. Chin Chin, P75, and there's Miss Don Q, who we spoke about earlier. But let's stay with P75 Chin Chin. It's a 32-foot skater powered by 270 Mercury outboards. This boat is owned and throttled by Tony Caligari from West Sayville, New York, and is being driven today by John Shields. So that Shields and Caligari making up the Chin Chin race team. But right now, Morales in Miss Don Q holding off, but here's Raz taking a slight lead. That's Raz in the 41 Apache, raspberry and tan, powered by twin CNG racing motors, 800 horsepower apiece. In Raz, you've got Pete Markey, Tress Martin, and Tom Hofstra making up that crew. So you've got Miss Don Q, Chin Chin in the middle of the pack, and Raz on the outside. Tony Caligari from the Chin Chin race team, formerly from Ocean Outboard. You remember them from racing last year. They're the largest U.S. dealer for Douglas skaters in 21, 24, and 32 footers. They do quite a skater business along with Mercury Marine Products. That's Ocean Outboard of Tony Caligari. And he is part of the Chin Chin race team, and you see him right there in the center of your picture. Good shot of Atlantic City in the background right there. Raz extending a slight lead over Chin Chin, and Miss Don Q coming up behind Chin Chin. Sir Alice looking to do very well in the Miss Don Q Rum race team. Needs a good run today to hold off a Curry's and High Roller. That is too close to call between Sir Alice's Miss Don Q and a Curry's High Roller, who should be coming into the action very shortly. But we're staying with Shields and Caligari and Chin Chin, who are having also a very fine run. Miss Don Q, Chin Chin, and High Roller will all be dueling it out in the production class. Raz still having a good run on the far outside. Pete Markey's doing the driving, Tress Martin is on throttles, and Tom Hofstetter is your navigator. Miss Don Q, Chin Chin, and Raz going by. And right now we come up the boat that I mentioned earlier, who is trying to chase down Miss Don Q. P51 High Roller. It is an all-white 32-foot Douglas skater powered by 3 245 horsepower Mercury outboards. This boat is owned by Group Motorsports. Driving today is Ray Curry from Milford, Connecticut, and on throttling you've got Tommy Curry. The Currys in P51 High Roller have had a phenomenal campaign. They've taken several firsts and seconds already this year, and they have a 200-point lead over the Sir Alice's and Miss Don Q race team. So today's race is very important. At the present point in time, Miss Don Q has a slight lead over High Roller, so High Roller needs to finish no worse than second place. They would like to try to overtake Don Q, but if they can stay in second place, they will still hang on and perhaps be your national champion in the production class. So it's very exciting in terms of where the Currys finish in today's race. P51. That's Raymond and Tommy Curry in the High Roller race team, having a very strong run here in Atlantic City. The Currys in High Roller. Tom Curry doing a fine job on the throttles. Raymond really keeping that boat steady as the driver. Now we come up on P15, Concrete Cat, one of your divisional boats. This is a 32-foot all-red Hydrotech. This boat is powered by 3 240 horsepower Mercury outboards. This boat is owned and driven by Bud Tresh from Mullica Hills, New Jersey. He's got Doug Lewis from Woodbury, New Jersey as his throttle man, and Mitch Brodkin from Mullica Hills, New Jersey is your navigator. So you've got Tresh, Lewis, and Brodkin making up the Concrete Cat race team here today. In the divisional in the Northeast, they've had some good runnings. They've taken a second in Freeport, a first in Buffalo, a first at Greenwich, first at Point Pleasant, and a third at Barnegat Bay on the divisional circuit. So they really want to have a good run here today, and they certainly look to be doing it right now. Concrete Cat having an excellent run here in Atlantic City. Concrete Cat looking very strong. Doug Lewis on the throttles is doing an excellent job, as you can see right here. This boat is dialed in quite nicely and running exceptionally strong. Some of the other classes are very tough. You saw the tight competition in production with Miss Don Q, High Roller, Chin Chin. Open, Special Edition, and Coors Light, Silver Bullet, and Chevrolet going all out right now in that class. Hal Copeland's Popeyes Diet Coke, Eric's Reality, and Gentry Eagle is dueling head-to-head. Modified, you've got Cat, East Coast Marine, Chariots of Fire, all looking good. The competition is very competitive in all classes, but right now we're staying with Concrete Cat. Now we come up on D96, this all-yellow 41-foot Apache known as Starchaser. This boat is powered by twin 800-horsepower Richie Zool racing inboard motors with Merc Cruiser No. 4 drives. This boat is owned and driven by Butch Montevecchi from Staten Island, New York. His navigator is James Montevecchi, and Mike Florio is the throttle man. This crew has been together for several years, and they are stars. And the Starchaser race team are true champions, and they're presently running in first place. They've had some excellent wins from 1987 as well as into 88, and today's race is no exception. They're tearing up the course. Presently they're running in first place in class, and no one is going to be able to catch this Starchaser boat if they maintain a performance as they have right now. Besides the Montevecchis and Florio, there are so many people who help out the Starchaser race team. Their big and heavy sponsors are Profiles Perfect USA Limited, Ruggerio's Restaurant, Cookie Store, Page Dodge, Mopar Performance, the Palm Shores Club Caterers, Dom's Market, Ronnie and Mike from Chef Romeo's, the Lanikai Hotel. Abincimento is on the pier. Some other sponsors include Venice Marine, Paradise Restaurant, The Corvette Shop, All City Glass, All Electric Construction, Mike's Back Room, Fox Glass, A. Visconti and Sons, Jody's Car Service, Glaze Right, and of course, who could forget Lock Love, Cappuccino on the Bay, JoJo's Auto Rental, Hazard Collision, Marie's Italian Cuisine. All of these people help feed the Montevecchis and Florio. And of course, they get around from the East All Tire Company. You've got Palco Electric, Rishon Auto Repair, What's Your Pleasure Limousine that drives them around, Diane's Enterprise, Fast Auto News Service, and L&P Ironworks. Just some of the many sponsors who help the Starchaser race team. And of course, who could forget Richie Zool, who does the race motors for them, and Joe and Jeff Russo, who help out on the Starchaser race team. So there you have it, the cast of sponsors and the crew that help make D96, the Montevecchios and the Florios, Starchaser race team, the true champs that they are. From Atlantic City, D96, Starchaser race team. From Starchaser, we come up on S5, the long shot race team. This all-red 24-foot Douglas skater is powered by 2 Mercury outboard motors with 400 horsepower. This boat is owned by Douglas Skater out of Douglas, Michigan. Your driver for today's race is Larry Van Amexty from Lake St. Clair, Michigan, and Randy Schism from St. Louis, Missouri is on throttles. So Van Amexty and Schism is doing a fine job in the long shot race team. They've not had the best campaign for 1988, however, they're presently running in first place, holding off Dick O'Day Racing and the high-risk race team, who we've seen in some of our earlier telecasts. But right here, Longshot is looking very strong. It's the boat's 4th year in racing, and it's held up incredibly to the rough seas, considering this boat has been out here for 4 consecutive years running right now. The Longshot race team, and there's certainly no Longshot for today, being that they're unofficially running in first place in the stock class right now. The boat known as Longshot Race Team S5 having a very good run right here. From Longshot, we come up on C41. This is the 30-foot Shadow Cat known as Pipeline Express. This boat is powered by 2 Chevrolet inboard motors with Mercruiser outdrives. This boat is sponsored by Robert E. Shug. This boat is the former national APBA and former NPBA champion. The former Town and Country boat is now renamed as the Pipeline Express. They took a first place in Greenwich at the Showboat Classic and a first place in Point Pleasant this year on the national circuit. This boat is owned and driven by Robert E. Shug from New Jersey. On throttles, he's got Richard Dan Cision from Toms River, New Jersey, and Ed Allen is his navigator. Pipeline Express, there's quite a good story that goes behind this race team. After 24 years of hard work by Ed Allen, who rigged the boat and the engines, they're built by Airspeed Engineering, who did a superb job out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Our first race seemed to go very well, and after that it's just been a product of excellent people who surround our boat. They hope to keep this team in the future and continue to do well. Robert Shrug would like to thank those dedicated, giving individuals, Ed Allen, who is the boat rigger, and Dave Jarvis, who is the boat engine builder on the East Coast. And that's a long shot on the outside. You really get an idea of just how rough this outward leg is on the ocean racing course right here. They're experiencing high seas, thus slowing down the speeds. But back to the crew. The boats are built on Ed Allen's a boat rigger, and Dave Jarvis is the best engine builder on the East Coast. Rich Dancision, your APBA Throttle Man of the Year in 1985. Larry Wurzberger, the man responsible for doing some of the best fiberglass work known to this race team. And last, and not least, to someone who's been a real great help and inspiration to Robert Shug is his wife, who knows how much he loves the sport and is petrified through the entire race, but nonetheless she supports him as well as the entire Pipeline Express race team every time they go out. And today is no exception because they're having a fine run in Atlantic City. C41, the Pipeline Express, headed up by Robert E. Shug. Rich Dancision is doing a fine job of throttling on this Pipeline race team right now. And now we come up on D55, Island Runner. And slightly ahead of him, it's S941, the Dick O'Day racing team. But we're going to stay with Island Runner right here. This 41-foot all-white Apache is powered by twin Stadler high-performance engines with 725 horsepower each. This boat is owned and throttled by Frank Kerbeck from right here in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Driving is George Kerbeck, and your navigator is Al Chapchian. Your chief crew member is Mike Rashko, all hailing from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Hometown favorites here, the Kerbecks in the Island Runner race boat. You see them going by Dick O'Day Racing. Two totally different class of boats, so certainly not a problem. But in this rough leg, this 41-foot Apache can certainly make some good headway, as you can see right here. This boat is sponsored by Kerbeck, Lamborghini, Rolls-Royce, and automotive dealerships. They sell right here out of Atlantic City. They also handle Bentleys, Cadillacs, Pontiacs, Chevrolets, Mitsubishis, and Saabs. So obviously, if you're in Atlantic City and it seems you need a car to get around, you should definitely go see Frank Kerbeck from your Kerbeck dealerships in Atlantic City, New Jersey. But he's come from the road out to the open seas in Island Runner, and he certainly has this 41-foot Apache having a fine run. D-Class is very tight, and they're definitely in the hunt for things right now. They're looking very competitive right here. They'll be chasing Starchaser, BAM, Hot, amongst others in that class. Island Runner, the boat headed up by Frank Kerbeck from Atlantic City, having a good run in Atlantic City. Just listen to Frank work those throttles. The Island Runner race team. That's American Express right there in your picture. Really having a rough ride out here in this open ocean racing. And right now we come up on a strong competitor, S941, Dick O'Day Racing. This black with red and yellow trim 24-foot skater is powered by twin 200 horsepower Mercury outboard motors. This boat is owned by Derek Simons, who also does your navigating and throttling. And he's got Kenneth Welch as his driver. Dick O'Day Racing having a very fine run today. They're chasing down Longshot, who's presently in first place and holding off the challenge of High Risk. With a good run here today, he will become your national champion. So there's a lot at stake here for the Dick O'Day race team. Crimebuster has had a good run. Dick O'Day is in second place, and he's holding off High Risk, who's presently in third place in point standings. So O'Day knows what he must do today here in the S class, and he will certainly rise to the challenge. He always has, and today he said he's going to let it all hang out, being that it is the final race of the season. So we're watching a champion letting it all go right now. There is no tomorrow for Dick O'Day Racing. That's S941, the Dick O'Day Racing team, having a fine run in Atlantic City. If they can hold on right here, this certainly would be a national champion and lend an international flair to it, in that this race team hails from Bermuda. Derek comes up from Bermuda to race out here, and he's done an excellent job here in the States on the campaign. The Dick O'Day race team enjoying a very fine day of racing. As we leave Dick O'Day Racing, we're coming up on D18, the boat known as Hot. This is a 32-foot all-white skater powered by twin Johnson outboard motors. This boat is owned and throttled by Roy W. Hallman from Chicago, Illinois, and is being driven today by Robert Reynolds, also from Chicago, and its head crew member is Jeannie Harmon, also hailing from Chicago. Hot is looking very good right now in class. They're in a strong chase with Starchaser and BAM. However, Starchaser, you saw earlier on, has a very good lead, but it's too close to call right now between BAM and Hot in the D-class competition. They've had some good running. On the outside, that's Al Copeland's Popeyes Diet Coke. That is certainly a space-age looking race boat right there, and he's done everything that can be done in this field of offshore powerboat racing. Copeland is a living legend right now in the sport, but the story right now is Hot. He's done very well. This boat is sponsored by Kilroy's Bar Restaurant and Triplex Marine, as well as Midwest Performance Boats. They've had 4 races on the national circuit. They took a 3rd at Bay City, a 1st at Grand Haven, and a 1st at the Traverse City. They've done very well throughout this campaign. They'd like to extend a special thanks to Larry Travis of Triplex Marine for all his help. Also, a special thanks goes to his wife, Jeannie Hellman, for driving the boat to a first-place win in Grand Haven, Michigan. Special thanks to Robert Reynolds of Kilroy's Bar and Restaurant for all their support, and he's looking forward to more support from Michigan Air Gas, U.S. Air Gas. This boat is also the only boat in Sportsman D class with stock 600 horsepower. And right here you get a good idea of what the hot race team is all about. Just listen to those 600 horsepower Johnsons do their thing right now. And Roy Hellman, along with Robert Reynolds, really has the hot race team dialed in, doing a great job on the throttling right here. The driving is superb, and hot is really hot right now as it's firing around the race course. The hot race team having a fine day here at Atlantic City. Now we're coming up on a brand new boat, number 60, Eric's Reality. This boat is a brand new 48-foot all-white Cougar powered by 4 850 Gentry inboard motors with K5 Keycafer outdrives. This boat is owned and driven by Charles E. Marks from Potomac, Maryland, and your navigator and throttle man is Bobby Moore. This boat is really special. This is a brand new super boat known as Eric's Reality, and today it's his debut race. Charles E. Marks is chairman of Systems Products Incorporated of Washington, D.C., and president of Automated Datatron Incorporated of Hyattsville, Maryland. He'll bring this brand new superboat to the Offshore Powerboat racing circuit today in Atlantic City with its maiden voyage. This 48-foot custom-designed Cougar built in England has never been raced before. The boat is named Eric's Reality in honor of Mark's 26-year-old son. It is his habit to name his boats after his children. Mark says the boat is designed to be a rough water catamaran with a racing attitude of a deep V hull. Right there with Atlantic City in the background, you see Eric's Reality really having a strong run. If this is the case, Eric's Reality may indeed be tested at Atlantic City, because the last 4 national circuit races held off the Jersey coast have proven to be cat breakers. In one race, who could forget Al Copeland's superboat, Popeyes Diet Coke, sprung over 1,000 rivets and was well on the way to sinking as it limped back to shore. Eric's Reality is the latest edition of the world champion Cougar boats. It boasts extraordinary power plants, 4 Gentry American Eagle turbocharged 850 horsepower mills, the same engines that drove Tom Gentry to the 1987 Superboat World Championship in Key West last November. If the waters really turns rough, Mark will probably find his toughest competition from the Deep V Gentry Johnson Scarab, driven by actor Don Johnson of Miami Vice fame. Gentry engines are also in Don Johnson's Scarab. Eric's Reality is having a fine run, as you can see, and Charles Marks has also put a lot of time into the secret safety pods that they've built into this boat. It's got windshields from Harrier jets, and they've put a lot of technology into the safety capsule right there. They're having a fine run. They're holding off Popeyes Diet Coke in second and Gentry Eagle in third place. So Charles Marks is really having a good impression in Eric's Reality. Now we come up on another racing boat right here. This boat is A71, the Lucky Strike Racing Race Team. This is a 30-foot red and white Sonic powered by twin 300 Chevrolet inboard motors with Mercruiser outdrives. This boat is owned and throttled by Lloyd Gutenberg from Ship Bottom, New Jersey, and he's got Bud Millinghausen as his driver today. The Lucky Strike Race Team. They're presently in first place, holding off Johnny Red and Snakebite. Lucky Strike Race Team having a very good run at Atlantic City right now, headed up by Gutenberg and Millinghausen. Right here you've got C-37, endangered species on the inside, and Delia Special Edition on the outside. C-37, this is a 34-foot all-white Sudfin powered by twin Innovation race motors with 550 horsepower Peets with Arneson outdrives. The owner of this boat is Fast 34 Incorporated. Your driver today is Clayton Wilson. On throttles you've got Rick Lamore, and Tim Notto is your navigator. You see Delia taking a slight lead right here. Special Edition having a good run in class. He's presently in first place, holding off Coors Silverlight Bullet and Chevrolet Power. But right now, the story is endangered species. He's presently running in second class, chasing Kurt Berger, Smokey and the Bandit, but holding off the challenge being made by Insanity. He's presently in third place in class. C-37, the 34-foot Sutphin known as endangered species. There you see the Montevecchi's D96 Starchaser with a checkered flag. They're already finished with the boat race, and most likely they're already headed to one of those many restaurants that they frequent who do help them out. You heard the names before, and they're probably headed out there in the rented limousine that they use, or else out to one of the restaurants that they love to frequent over on Staten Island. What can you say? The Montevecchios and Mike Florio, who had a phenomenal run in Starchaser. high-octane along with the engines. So that's Joe Jacobson, Chick Packman, who make up the Skater Express race team, and the sponsorship and generosity provided by Glazer Marine, all coming from St. Louis, Missouri. They've had a good run at the Miss River Challenge out in St. Louis, and right here, this is a big national race for them, and certainly a big test for the Skater Express race team in Atlantic City. A1, the Johnny Red race team. This all-red 26-foot Corsa is powered by a single Pro Marine 550 horsepower race motor. This boat is owned by John LaForte. John LaForte Sr. does the driving, John LaForte Jr. is on the throttles, and Ralph Papke is the head crew member. They're the 1987 World Championship. They took a third at Barnegat this year, and sponsorship is provided by LaForte Air Freight Trucking out of Valley Stream. The LaFortes would like to extend a special thanks to Ralph and Pro Marine for all the fine work they've done in re-rigging this boat for the 1988 campaign. Ralph not only maintains the boat, but he does the motors as well. So, the combination of Ralph Papke, John LaForte Sr., and John LaForte Jr. helped make Johnny Red the consistent competitor that they've been for the last several years on the offshore campaign. They're presently running in second place in A-Class behind Lucky Strike and holding off Snakebite, who is in third place right now in A-Class. The There you see the Lady L race team acknowledging the presence of the freeze-frame video copter right there running with them. We do everything to bring you the best possible footage. The Lady L race team, we wish them all the best. Here you see Special Edition. You notice, John noticed our presence there earlier, and he waved and acknowledged our presence. They're looking very good. John D'Elia and J.D. Jr. from Coscob, Connecticut are having a phenomenal run in Special Edition. They're presently in first place, and if they can hold off Coors Silver Bullet and Chevrolet, they will be your champ. Right there you see that broken tie bar, which you saw earlier on in the race, is still running with them. There you see it right there by the port motor. It's still kicking up and it is running loose. We'll just have to wait and see the damage that it has caused when this race is over. But for whatever reason it was just meant to be their day today, because Special Edition is having a fine run as it holds off Coors Light Silver Bullet. If they maintain this, they will be your national champion in open class. John D'Elia and J.D. Jr. from Coscob, Connecticut in the Special Edition race team. And right here, as the race is drawing to a close, many boats have already finished. Some are still out in the course, but we're going to stay with Special Edition as he charges home for the start-finish boat, and we'll be staying with him as he crosses the finish line. And after that, we'll be compiling our final results, and we'll be bringing them to you, the final results of the 1988 Atlantic City Trump Castle Grand National Powerboat Championships from Atlantic City. Stay tuned for the final results. There you see John D'Elia and J.D. Jr. with the fist being held high in victory. They know they have held on, and they are the national champs. So as we head toward the finish,